Hey, good morning, guys. We have here in the back of the truck something that's going to excite my children very much. It's called work. That is 50 bags of topsoil. We are going to put in some box gardens here at the house because I don't have any gardens. And these are some of the plants that we'll be putting in these box gardens because the greenhouse at school is getting too hot. Our box gardens are going to go in that spot right there. It'll get some sun, some shade, and hopefully they should be pretty happy. We have some other plants over here. These plants came out of the greenhouse yesterday. And we're gonna put them in the ground and we're gonna see what we get. All right, be back with you soon. So what we're doing here is we're using the blade of the bucket to scrape down the dirt so we get it down to grass level. If you don't have a tractor like this, you can always use something like Roundup to burn the grass down, or you even just use your lawnmower, cut it as low as possible. You can use a shovel to skim off the top. That's a lot more work. But your best bet is to get as much grass out of there as you can so that you don't have as many weeds. And that's our first step when we're preparing the bed for a box garden. So I'll show you what we're doing here. That's going to help us to level out the dirt and get rid of as much of the grass as possible. So now after we've done a little tractor work, we've got a bed set. Our next step is going to be put up the sides with whatever scrap lumber I have laying around. Got our boards cut to size, so the next thing we got to do is nail together our corners. We're going to go together about like that. Nail it together, and then after we get that all done, we're going to position it. All right, so our next step, and this is kind of a secret ingredient for my box gardens, is we lay down newspaper. That lets the plants poke their roots through it, so you don't want to go super thick, but it also helps to prevent weeds from growing up into your flower bed or whatever it is that you're building. So we're going to put down newspaper, then we're going to wet them. Wetting them does two things. It starts to help hold moisture in the bed. Second thing it does is it helps to keep these things from blowing away. So while Scott lays out newspaper, I'm going to go get the hose. And we wet it down. And like I said, that keeps it in place and allows it to start breaking down. So it helps to water the plants. It'll hold a little bit of water, but it'll also help to keep weeds down. All right, we've got the newspaper down throughout the whole bed. We've got it wetted down. Now we're adding the topsoil, and we're going to spread it out and add fertilizer. All right, so that is our box garden. Some people, like I said, call them box gardens. Some people call them square foot gardens. Some people call them elevated beds. You can call them whatever you want. This is what we've done. We've prepared it for our plants to put in. We filled it with just regular old cheap topsoil from Walmart. That works as good as just about anything. But one thing that we did do was include fertilizer with it. This is all-purpose fertilizer. It's called 13-13-13. What those numbers stand for is P, N, and K, which is phosphorus, nitrogen, and potassium. So 13-13-13 is a balanced, fairly weak fertilizer that you can use for, says beautiful foliage, more vegetables, and root growth. 13-13-13 is good in normal soil to get yourself a pretty decent amount of fertilization without running the risk of burning your plants, which is what can happen with higher fertilizers. 13-13-13 is the best fertilizer you can find for the home gardener. It's pretty foolproof. What we're doing now is we're putting in the plants that we started in the greenhouse, putting them in the ground. It's pretty simple. You pop one out of the podlet, then cover it up, and it's ready to go. All right, so this is a box garden. Scott's watering it. We got all the plants in. Every single one of these plants was started in our greenhouse, grows in our greenhouse. Your net last step after you plant your plants is make sure everything gets a real good drink. We'll probably put a sprinkler on it later this evening. But this is just to kind of make sure everything gets jump started. This fence right here is intended to keep our vining plants from growing into our non-vining plants. They'll hit that and start growing up it instead of in it. Now, will they go around it? Maybe. If they do, I'll have to prune them back. But one of the big advantages of a greenhouse like this, or of a bed like this, you can very easily turn it into a greenhouse. You put pieces of rebar down alongside the pieces of wood on the side, and you can hoop PVC over the rebar and then cover the whole thing up with visqueen or plastic, and then you've got a full season, all season growing bed. All right, good luck, be safe.